Now, heading back overseas, and that breaking news we brought you earlier, the US House has passed a funding bill to avert a government shutdown. Joining me now is Professor Peter Matthews, Professor of Political Science at Cyprus College. And Professor, this is welcome news.
It certainly is, Tim. People were holding their breath because the federal budget is about 32% of the GDP of the country. And in this case, the House passed a continuing resolution. It's temporary, means the funding will be temporary till about 4 or 5 weeks, after which they'll have to get a final budget, still negotiated and passed. But this is a good way to stop the crisis that was right at our doorstep. And the House did pass it by 2/3 majority, with mostly Democrats and Republicans coming together against the far-right MAGA Republicans. And now it goes to the Senate for the Senate to consider it and get it passed also.
That's a problem that's not going away in any hurry, though, is it? That little pocket of those in the Senate that are just right-wing and going to cause Kevin McCarthy issues all the time.
They're a real problem for him because they insisted on, when he was going to get elected as Speaker and they gave their support to him, they insisted that they have a rule called the motion to vacate, which would only take one member of the House to put forth the motion to vacate, in which case the whole House would have to vote to keep or retain the Speaker or get rid of him. So now McCarthy faces the revenge against him by this right-wing faction for doing what he did, for working with Democrats. And Matt Gaetz tried to get the motion to vacate pushed through at the last minute today, but the House adjourned before he could do it. And so Monday will be a day of reckoning for McCarthy on down. So the main thing is that we averted a total disaster starting at least today and for the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, because there would have been global implications as well as what would happen on the domestic front. But it's interesting because many would say, oh, Kevin McCarthy, he may lose his job, but it doesn't sound like a job many people want to
do. I'm not sure why he wanted it, because it's so precarious. I mean, he doesn't have a solid majority that supports someone as a speaker, thick or thin. Instead, this tail wags the dog. The right-wing MAGA, which is about 10 to 20 people, who are led by people like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, are extreme in their viewpoint. They wanted to cut 30% more. See, Tim, this was already negotiated back in the summer, and President Biden and Speaker McCarthy and Chuck Schumer, this majority leader, had agreed on a budget plan. They'd agreed on the contours of a budget which would reduce spending somewhat, which Republicans wanted. Democrats didn't want to reduce so much spending, but they agreed to do some spending reduction in exchange for going ahead with a continuing resolution to keep the government open this summer until the fall when they could negotiate the final plan, which was already agreed to implement it. Well, the MAGA people went back on their word and said, no, we want more cuts. They wanted 30% cuts in the budget, which would have been horrendous, knocking children off of Head Start, getting moms and dads and other families off of food aid who are low-income folks. It would have been terrible for the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, which takes care of the airports, and also the air traffic controllers would have been not paid, both of them. Military people would not have been paid right away. They would have had to wait on their paychecks. This is horrendous that they were facing with the MAGA crowd. So it's a good thing they Kevin McCarthy came to his senses and got together with the Democrats and got this temporary continuing resolution passed, which looks like it'll pass the Senate as well by a 2/3 vote, probably today sometime, so they can avoid the shutdown.
Yeah, and with this small right-wing rump, if you can call it that, there is a big shadow casting from Donald Trump, isn't it? You can see his presence in everything that they're trying to do.
Absolutely, Tim. He's the culprit because he actually came out and publicly told them, shut the government down. Don't vote for a compromise. Don't work with Democrats or moderate Republicans or conservative Republicans who believe in the rule of law. Don't vote with them. They're establishment. You folks are the true change agents, took the right-wing MAGA. And the MAGA and the Congress followed him lockstep and barrel, just went right down the tubes with him and listened to him. And they're trying to, I think this faction in the party and also in the country that votes for Trump are trying to basically dismantle the system so they can start anew in their own very dangerous way, rebuilding America in a wrong way. They want to dismantle and erect the system, as Stephen Bannon, who was a big influencer there, Steve Bannon said, get rid of the administrative state. Well, the administrative state is the government that actually administers the policies that the people want through the Congress. They want to erect the system. It's very dangerous. And Trump is a big part of it.
And of course, he didn't turn up for the debate again during the course of the week. It's not stopping any of his position on those popularity polls, and his legal battles continue to mount on the left-hand side of things.
Yes, in fact, his polling numbers, I looked at the average of polls, showed that he was at about 56% of the Republican vote, and the next place finisher is Ron DeSantis with about 13%. Everyone else was behind him. But it's very interesting, if you put up a poll between Nikki Haley and President Biden in general election poll, she beats President Biden by several points. But the MAGA and the Trump supporters are going to put Trump back in there in the primary. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure they're going to do that. And Trump's going to have a rematch with Biden once again. And it is true that he's faced recently a decision by by the judges in New York to actually rule that he cannot anymore be licensed to do business in New York. That's coming down on him. And it's going to take away 60% of his business's ability to do business in New York, because 60% of his businesses are in New York State. That's going to be a big financial blow personally to him. But as far as a political blow, I'm not sure, because this could even give him more strength, and he can use whatever money he's gotten from other sources to start a business in Florida. And his voters are going to still vote for him in the spring unless something else drastic happens in the criminal trials, which are also coming down.
Yeah, there's a whole stack happening, isn't there? And it's only going to heat up as we head out of 2023 and into 2024. Professor, always good to chat. We will catch up with you real soon.
You bet. Thank you, Jim. Take care.